Hello and welcome to this UniTaster On Demand webinar. My name is Jon Cheek. I'm the founder and director of UniTasterDays, and today this is a Christmas special. I'm delighted to be joined by two exceptional speakers for this event. I'm joined by Leon Harris. Leon is an Education Liaison Officer at the University of Hertfordshire. I'm also joined by Andrew Cooper. Andrew is a Schools and Colleges Account Manager at Liverpool John Moores University. The point of the event today is just to give you some brilliant tips in the run-up to Christmas and stuff as students, whether you're watching this as year 11, year 12, year 13, maybe year 10 or year 9 student, you can actually start exploring over Christmas so that when you get back in January, you're in a really good place when it comes to making university choices. I'm going to pass now to our first speaker. That's Leon Harris, joining us from the University of Hertfordshire. Over to you, Leon.
Thank you very much, John, and welcome everyone. My name is Leon. I'm from the University of Hertfordshire, and I'm a Regional Education Liaison Officer. And first thing I want to say is just Merry Christmas. You know, it has been a really challenging year, and we all do deserve the break that is coming up. You know, I've got my Christmas jumper on ready, just in the festive mood, and really glad that my last thing I can do in 2020 is to speak to you about making university decisions during this Christmas period, and hopefully give you some last minute tips and advice that can really help you make your final choices or reinforce your current choices when it comes to your university decisions. Now, when it comes to university, there is a lot of different choice available. There's about 50,000 different course options available amongst all the higher education providers in the United Kingdom. And in terms of institutions, there are over 320 different institutions you could potentially study a university degree at. And this could be at a traditional university, it could be at a further education provider or private university. There's many different options, but it's really important that you make the right choice for yourself. So there's lots of choice out there. So think about what is important for yourself. Now, you might have already made the right choices for yourself, and this video will hopefully help you to reinforce those correct decisions. If you're still making your choices as well, you know, again, this video will help you to really understand what factors may be of most importance to yourself and where you can find the relevant information to help you with your decision making. So when it comes to making the right choice for yourself, there's a whole load of different factors out there, and some of these factors will have really high importance for yourself. Others won't be as important. Now, your job is to think about what is going to help you make the right choice, and which of these areas are going to be major areas of consideration when it comes to your university and course choices. So I'm not going to go through all the different options on the slide now, but here's just a quick snapshot of things you can consider. And, you know, some of these might have high importance, others might have low importance. It's all an individual choice. So have a look at this and just see which of these are things that are going to be really key in helping you make the right choice for yourself. You know, it could be course content, it could be accommodation. Does the university have accommodation on campus, or is the accommodation off-site? You know, where is the university in terms of league tables? Now, with league tables, there's many different league tables out there, like the Guardian, the Times Higher Education league tables, Complete University Guide. And it's important to look at all the different options, because universities will have different rankings depending on how those individual organizations have done their rankings and metrics. So again, make sure you're doing as much research as possible. Entry requirements as well, you know, have a look to see, you know, are you eligible to apply for the course you're interested in? Work placements, professional accreditation, where is the university based? Do you want to live further away from home and be as far away from your parents' guidance as possible? Or do you want to maybe commute to university and still live in the family home? Or do you want to have a happy medium, move away, but not be too far away, so you can still come home on weekends, for example? Student satisfaction, you know, what is that like at the universities? What's the social life like? Costs, is there a study abroad option available both at the university and on your course, etc., etc. So again, have a look at these factors and just decide what is going to be of most importance for yourself, and this will help you make the right choice. So what can you do over this Christmas period when we've got a couple of weeks off school and college? So one thing I would definitely recommend is, and this is regardless of if you've made your choices or if you're still deciding, is to do research on individual university websites. And I'm going to come on to that on the next slide in a bit more further detail. But again, if you are still making your decisions, again, individual university websites can find out all the information you need about both the university and the courses they offer. If you have made your decisions, I'd really recommend just having one final look, just to make sure you're 100% in your mind satisfied that you made the right choices. And then really do recommend going on external websites as well, because individual university websites will be made by those universities. So if you want a bit of a more impartial view, an impartial look in terms of course searching and university searching, there's different websites available out there. So UCAS, which you'll be using to apply to your university choices, will have a search tool where you can view different types of courses available. And there's other websites like Discover Uni, What Uni, the Uni Guide, which will all have search tools available for you to search different university options. And all these websites will also provide impartial guidance and advice in lots of different areas when it comes to university, like personal statements, how to apply to university, what the difference is between degree apprenticeships and full-time study, etc. I can't forget UniTasterDays as well. So definitely recommend going on UniTasterDays, not only to find, subject-specific videos and general videos in terms of guidance and advice when it comes to university choices, but also to see what events are coming up at your university choices, because this could really help you get a further feel for what that university is going to be like. Most events will be online at the moment, but UniTasterDays will have lots of universities, events listed, and you can find out what each university is doing in the next couple of months. One final thing I'll pick up on in this section is to do the prospectus. So prospectuses are basically like a handbook for what a university offers, all the different courses, their facilities, etc., all in one handy guide. Now, these prospectuses are available online, so definitely go on the universities you're interested in and pick up those online prospectuses. You might download it as a PDF, or you might be able to get it sent directly to your email. If you want a physical copy, and some people do prefer this to have it physically in their hand, so they can look at it in their own time without having to look at a laptop or on a mobile. And parents and guardians also do generally like having physical copies of prospectuses because some people find it easier to use. Those are also available as well. You can order them direct from university websites, but just be aware if you do any orders in the Christmas period, it might not arrive till after the New Year because of the Christmas closures and the postal service during the Christmas period. Now, one factor I'm going to look at in particular, because this is an area I found in all my years working for universities that some students do forget about in terms of their research, is to look at course content, teaching, and assessment. And so and this is applicable for both those who are still making their university choices and also for those who have already made their choices. Again, just to really confirm that they made the right choice for yourself, because some students may not be aware that courses with different sounding names may be very similar, but also on the flip side, courses with the same name may be completely different. So again, do some research, visit university course pages to research course content in order to really understand what a course will entail in terms of modules, in terms of subjects within that course, etc. I'll give you a personal example. So my background is history. And when I was looking for history courses, when applying to university, most history courses generally are just called history BA honours, so Bachelor of Arts. Now, when looking for different history courses, it wasn't until I delved into the course content that I realized that history at one university was completely different to history at another university. One was more medieval history and the other was more modern history. So again, it's looking at the course content to see exactly what you're going to be taught, because you may, for example, only wish to study modern history. And if you just chose that history course that was more medieval focus, if I look at the course content, that could be, applying to that institution might be a mistake. So again, research, just so you know exactly what the course content will be like. Also, understand how a course will be taught and assessed. Really important, especially if you do prefer to be assessed in specific ways or if you have a preference. So some people absolutely hate exams. They prefer to be assessed more practically. On university course pages, there will be program specifications, and it's usually in a PDF file, which will tell you exactly how a course is taught. So what percentage will be taught through lectures, seminars, independent study, and so forth, and also how a course will be assessed, whether it will be assessed through physical exams, whether it will be assessed through online material, through group work, through essays, and through practical work. So again, have a look to see how a course will be taught and assessed in order to get a real well-rounded feel about what the course is going to be like, and just to confirm that you made your right choices in this area. Something else you can do during your time off is to look at virtual tours and online open days. Now, since the pandemic started, many universities have created fantastic virtual tours, which are all available on their individual university websites. And virtual tours can help you explore the university campus and buildings without physically going there. And it's the next best option compared to actually being there in person. So again, this will show you all the facilities. It will show you what the campus looks like. And it's just a good way to get a feel for the university as best as you possibly can during this current climate of social distancing and lockdown. Now, since, as I said, since the pandemic started in March 2020, open days have been held virtually. And what is good, an advantage over, compared to physical open days, when you look at virtual open days, is that a lot of the content from these virtual open days is still available to access after the live event has closed. And virtual open days do provide a fantastic way to provide insight and information to prospective students who aren't currently able to visit universities in person. So again, even if you decided which university you want to apply for, go on their online open days if they do have that available on their websites, because it might strengthen your desire to make that your firm choice or your insurance choice, or it may help you decide that there's better options out there for yourself. So again, research, go on your university websites for the ones you're interested in, and make use of all this free information that is currently provided on their platforms. One final thing to look at is campus tours as well. So campus tours were running before the most recent changes at a lot of different universities, but other universities weren't running campus tours at all. So from January 2021, what you can do is go on the universities you're interested in and just see if they are going to be running socially distanced and safe campus tours after the new year. And again, the current climate is changing day upon day, so there may not actually be any available. And hopefully this will only be around from, for 2021. Hopefully things will start to get better in the next couple of months. But again, just look to see, if campus tours are running, and if so, when will they be running from? Something else you can do is go on different websites to look at and watch webinars and online presentations. So since this has happened, or since COVID-19 has been part of our lives, many universities, including Hertfordshire, we recorded our talks and sessions, and they're all being hosted online on our platforms. So again, most universities will have lots of different talks available, which are both general and subject specific, just so you can learn more about those universities. And as I said, many of these will be recorded and are available to view after the live sessions are over. So it's a constant presence available on university websites where you can watch these in your own time. So we definitely recommend using those. And these videos, if they're not available on the university websites themselves, they might be available on the university YouTube channels. So again, it's just doing research and exploring to see what is actually out there. What I will say is definitely recommend UniTasterDays as a platform to do some more research, especially for impartial advice and guidance. So since March, they've been running UniTaster Tuesdays, and on their webpage, we have a whole bank of different online presentations, sessions, and talks, both on general topics like personal statements and more subject-specific ones about specific types of courses run by university professionals and business professionals. So again, definitely recommend that as a tool to do further research. So how can you ask questions during the Christmas period? So what I will say from the get-go is that universities will be closed during the Christmas period. So if you do want to make inquiries with specific university inquiry services or use their UniBuddy system, UniBuddy is a way for you to chat with current university students. These may be closed during the Christmas period and will be back and running after the new year. So just be aware of that. One thing I will say is if you do want completely impartial advice I would recommend using a student room, just because if you contact the universities directly, even with UniBuddy, if you're using a university's UniBuddy platform, there'll be ambassadors for the university who generally are paid by that particular university. So the student room is where you can speak to current students and former students, and it's a completely impartial forum. So again, you can ask questions about what it's like to be a current student during this pandemic, what it was like in normal times. If you've got any specific questions about specific courses, student room, definitely recommend using that as a tool to do further research into whether you're making the best choice in terms of content, courses, course choices and university choices. Okay, now just to conclude, now 15th of January deadline, typically every year, this is the last day to apply to UCAS for your application to be completely considered. You can apply after this deadline, but if a course is full, then it may be rejected for that reason. But all applications before the 15th will be given full consideration. Now, how to avoid any last minute issues. Just going to go through a couple of these options now, just to give you some guidance and advice, just so any sort of mishaps won't happen when it comes to submitting your applications. Now, this is applicable both for year 13s who are going to be making their applications, submitting them in the next week or two. And it's also for those in year 12, year 11, etc., because this will still be relevant year upon year. So one thing I'll say is remember your login details, just so you do not get locked out of your account, and don't use inappropriate email addresses as well. If you do have an inappropriate email address, something that is, a bit funny or risque, let's say, make sure you change that and use an appropriate email address. Double check course entry requirements. So make sure that you're going to be applicable in terms of your grades, in terms of applying to the university. But what I would say is that with grade entry requirements, this year in particular, there's going to be more consideration to the current climate. And also, even in normal years, you can still apply for courses that are above your predicted grades and still receive offers. That happened to myself. I received 2 offers from universities where the grades I was asking for were above what I was predicted. So I still received offers, but it was based on the grades they were asking for. So I would have to achieve above my predicted grades to get into those universities, but it did not stop me from receiving offers. One thing I would really double check though is GCSEs, to make sure you have all the GCSE requirements, and especially making sure you are studying the right subjects to get onto particular university courses. Now, some subjects, they might just ask for the grades and that's it. That's all they're asking for. Other subjects, this is, for example, common in art subjects and science subjects, they may require you to study specific subjects at A level or BTEC to get onto those courses. And if you don't study those subjects at college or school level, they may reject your application, even if you do have the grade requirements. So again, just double check all the entry requirements. Make sure all relevant sections are ticked correctly. So don't tick any boxes that aren't relevant to yourself, and do tick boxes that are relevant. In particular, there is a section on the UCAS application about criminal convictions. Do not tick you have criminal convictions if you don't have any, because if you do tick you have criminal convictions and you don't, it's just going to cause issues down the line. So just make sure you read through everything. Even if you've done your application and not submitted it yet, just make sure everything is correct. Just double check it, triple check it with a fine, tooth and comb. And in terms of your personal statement, check and double check your spelling and grammar. It's really important because your personal statement is the only area which you have 100% control over. And this is where the university can learn more about yourself. And if your spelling and grammar is incorrect, it's going to leave a bad impression. So just make sure it is all as perfect as possibly can be. If you do have any disclosures that you do need to make, for example, if you do have a disability, make sure you do disclose that on your application, just so when it comes to student finance, you are going to receive any funding that you're going to be eligible for. And you have to fight for that funding later on. So just make sure you disclose anything that needs to be disclosed. Send off your application earlier than the deadline. So this is very important for year 12s, 11s, and younger years, this is still to come, the UCAS application process. So the quicker you get your application in, it is very likely that you may receive your offers earlier. What does happen every year is that universities will receive a whole load of different applications, on the 15th of January. This is when we receive most of our applications. And because of this, it will take longer to go through all of the applications we receive. So the earlier you submit it, the quicker you'll hopefully get a response in. Make sure your payment details are correct. So if you're using a bank card to pay for the UCAS application, just make sure you're inputting all the details correctly. Because if you make 5 mistakes when inputting the details, the application will lock. So just make sure, again, it sounds really simple, but just make sure everything is being inputted correctly. And finally, if you're applying for your school or college, just remember that they'll need time to review application as well. So they're not going to be reviewing any applications or or writing your references during this Christmas period, because they're off just as much as you. They deserve this time off, as much as the rest of us do. So make sure, they will have time to review your application before the 15th of January deadline. So it means that you need to complete your application well in advance of this January, of the 15th of January. If you haven't completed your application just yet, make sure it is ready to be sent across to your tutor, for example, by the first or second day once you're back in term. Okay, so I hope that was really useful. I've got some final key tips for you, which are just more general advice. So research, research, research. I've said that word several times in this presentation, but research is going to really be the key in making sure you go to the best university for yourself and choosing the best course to study for yourself. I would also say, if you haven't made your choices just yet, pick the course you wish to study first and then choose the university that offers this course. Simply being that you're going to be studying a subject and just that subject area for 3 years minimum, and it could be even longer, 4, 5, etc. And you've got to make sure you're going to be enjoying the course you're going to be studying. So always choose that first. Compare course content and check entry requirements. Be aware of costs as well. So this may be course-related costs. So will you have to pay for maybe materials if you're doing a more practical type of course? And will this impact on the amount of money you have available to study at university? It could be accommodation costs. So if you're planning to move away to university, look at what the accommodation will cost, both the university accommodation and then maybe you move out and move into private accommodation years 2 and 3, what the private cost will be generally in the location you're studying at. So some locations will be cheaper than other locations. So just be aware of all the costs when it comes to university study. Make sure also the courses and universities you are applying for offer everything you wish to gain from your university experience. So if you're studying a course that is very practical based, make sure the facilities have everything you need to succeed and to get the best out of your university studies. In terms of the social side of it, does the university have everything you need in terms of societies, in terms of restaurants, in terms of fun activities, in terms of what can you do, sports, etc. Has it got everything you need? If you want to study abroad and hopefully, touch wood, travel will soon in the next couple of months be back to as normal as it possibly can be as it was before. Does your university offer study abroad? And even if it does offer study abroad, does the course you wish to apply for offer study abroad? Because it may not. The university might, but that particular course at the university doesn't. So again, just make sure it has everything you wish to gain from your university experience. And finally, remember, the choice is yours. You've got to make the best choice for yourself. Take advice from, impartial guidance advisors, careers advisors, teachers, parents, guardians, friends. But at the end of the day, this is your choice. You're the one going to university. Make the best choice for yourself. And one final piece of advice: don't spend all your time during the holidays working on your application. Make sure you take time to enjoy Christmas and New Year, especially in this current climate. You deserve a break. I just cannot imagine what the school or college has been like over the past several months for you students. So just make sure you take time to enjoy yourself, to relax, to recharge your batteries. If you do have a chance to work on applications and do some research during the Christmas period, do so, but don't let it be a burden on yourself. And if you don't have time, don't panic too much. The most important thing is to be restful, to relieve any stress you may have, and to enjoy your time as much as possible with friends and family, if you can, obviously during this time of social distancing. Okay, thank you very much. And I'm now going to hand over back to John. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Leon. A brilliant event, brilliant session there, looking at what students can do in relation to Christmas. Thank you also for the mentions of UniTasterDays, Leon. I really appreciate that. But really useful session as far as next steps. Our next speaker today is Andrew Cooper. Andrew is a schools and colleges account manager with Liverpool John Moores University. And Andrew's going to give you more Christmas tips, to include some things related to personal statements and essentially more on what you can be doing now during the coming weeks to really strengthen your applications. But noting what Leon said, this is also a time for you to have a break between times during such a challenging year. So over to you, please, Andrew.
Thank you very much, John. So first of all, happy Christmas to everybody who's watching. So my kind of session is just about how to make those final kind of decisions. So a few tips on how to pick it up. I've tried to pepper the presentation with a little bit more Christmas sparkle. And obviously one of the pictures there, for example, is our Christmas tree that we have in the city centre in Liverpool. So when you can come and visit the cities in a safe way, these are the type of things at Christmas period that you get to see. Most important thing, that I would kind of say, obviously starting with realistically for this season, is to actually have a break. You've earned it. No students have gone through what you guys have gone through before, with kind of missing so much school, coming back, having to catch up. And I know the idea of going off to university, especially with everything that's been going on, has been quite daunting. There's a lot of people who are only just starting to think about it now, compared to maybe those who would traditionally started even last summer. So do make sure you have that break. Take the time to enjoy the season as much as we can. It's not going to be a Christmas that any of us are used to, but we can still create some really great memories. Saying that though, there is some really useful stuff that you can still be getting on during those times. So hopefully you've not ordered prospectuses and that's what you're going to be opening on Christmas Day, but there will be some really useful tools out there for you. So just to get into the little Christmas mood, I went and scoured UCAS and got some interesting information from them. So last academic year, there was 900 types of Nicholas that applied to university, that was accepted into different universities. Between 2015 and 2019, 70% used the words insight, knowledge, or wisdom, which is kind of thinking of the three wise men there. And one of the most Christmassy kind of ones, you can see there, again, between 2015 and 2019, 93,000 people mentioned Christmas in their personal statements. And that could be for any number of things. Could be, you could make it actually relatable if you're doing like a business course, for example, and you business or activities like volunteering that you might be doing. So there's loads of ways you can incorporate some really interesting subjects. And remember, realistically, your personal statement is the only thing I'm going to ever read to get a flavour of you. Most courses won't be interviewing. So having that opportunity for me to get to know you and anything that you've done a little bit different, that's why you put it in. You get a lot of people who go, it's a little silly thing, really. It's not that big a deal. Put it in. As long as you back it up with an ABC, the activity, the benefit, and how you can relate it back to your course. So what can you be doing over this break? If you haven't already decided on the course, that's one of the big things to do. Think about what you want to be doing. And there's many ways that you can think outside the box. Even if you have thought, this is pretty much what I'm going to do, but I've just got to finish off my application and tidy it up a bit. Still think outside the box. The great thing about UCAS is that it is a keyword search. So if you type in business, it will show you everything that has business in the title. But there'll be so many other courses that you may be interested in. For example, you may be interested in marketing. If you're interested in marketing a bit, you might be interested in media, or you might be interested in graphic design, but that wouldn't show up in a business search. So you can start thinking outside the box, and I'll touch on that a little bit more in just a moment. And obviously, make sure you double check everything on your application. So your personal statement, UCAS form, be like Santa and double check it. Make sure you check it twice, because it is those simple little mistakes sometimes that people make that might affect a decision. So it could be from ticking criminal conviction box, and sometimes that will change. So some years you have to tick it to say you don't have a criminal conviction. Sometimes you might have to tick it to say you do have a criminal conviction. People might forget to put their GCSEs down as well. And from down on paper, you don't have that grade. It's a competitive course, so it's an easy rejection for the university. By the time you say, I've got that, that course might be full. So double check that everything is there. And in some ways, your UCAS application is your first assessment for university, because we're checking that attention to detail. We're making sure that your grammar is correct in your personal statement, that you've got a good structure to it, that you've got all those details. Because from our point of view, if you can get your application right, then you're going to have that same attention to detail for all the different activities that you'll be doing as part of your course. Now, remember, you get 5 choices if you go for the one, and there's about 320 different places you can study all around the UK. Some of them will be traditional universities like John Moores, a city centre-based university. Some of them will be campus-based universities. You'll have some FE colleges that will offer HE courses as well. And it's about thinking what's going to be the best environment for you. Sometimes there will be some great, fantastic universities right on your doorstep, but it might not necessarily be the best institution for the course that you want to go off and do. And especially in this year, we've all been told, try not to travel, try to stay local, but think about those options that hopefully with the vaccine coming in, things should be getting a little bit more normal, hopefully at some point in the next calendar year. So don't be put on the locations off. Do what's going to be best for you, because at the end of the day, you're going to be spending at least 3 years studying on that course. You want to make sure it's the right thing for you. But equally, there's so much course choice out there as well when it comes to that. So do your research. So one of the ways that you can do, thing that I do, for example, is use off the website. So there's like what university rich. You've got websites like SACU as well, which you can do a personality quiz. That was my careers one. And when my degree was drama and English literature, drama teacher was something that I definitely considered doing after I graduated. But it will produce clouds like this where you can see different jobs. You can click onto them and see, well, actually, what degree, what apprenticeships do I need to get to that one? You can see different insights, like, for example, salary. You also get one that will be different degree courses you may be interested in. So if you're not 100% too sure yet, do something like this, because you might just suddenly go, do you know what? I didn't even know that was a genuine thing you could study at university for, but it sounds amazing. I want to go off and study that. Equally, on these different types of websites, there will be quite often like A-level checkers where you can put your A-levels in and see what other people have done, which could give you different ideas. And there's also going to be different versions of personal statement checkers. So, for example, I know just because I've used it recently, the SACU one, you can put your personal statement in. It will tell you if you go over the account limit. It will also different tools where you can see, for example, on different websites, have you repeated the same words quite a few times, or how cliched is that opening line? So at least you can kind of go, oh, do you know what? Everybody says, I've always wanted to be a nurse. Maybe I should change that and make it a bit more original, because the more original it is, the more I'm going to sit up and notice it. And the more I notice something, the more I'm in a positive mind frame reading an application, the more likely I'm going to say, yes, I'll make this person an offer. So things to kind of be considering. The course choice is one of those key ones. Make sure that the university that you're looking at offers the course you really want to do. Search through the different options as well. So quite often you'll say, for example, oh, they've got a business school. I only was interested in business. I'm going to look at the business school though. And then you might go, actually, I thought I was going to do business management, but business with human resources. That sounds fascinating. You know, the School of Art and Design, I thought I wanted to do fine art, but look, they do graphic design and illustration. That's maybe a bit more what I'm interested in. So sometimes even within a university, you might find an alternative course that you're interested in. Equally, look at those course choices, because a geography degree at my university can be a science-based course, but at another university, it's more of a humanities course. So look at those little details. Look at what the module choice that you're going to be doing is, because it will depend on what the experts at that university offer. Look for the letters as well that you would gain from it. So a BSc would be a science-based course, a BA would be the humanities-based course. At least in that way, you've got a good idea of what type of content you're going to get delivered. And there's loads of other websites as well that you can make comparisons on. So you can start looking at things and going, right, what's the staff-student ratio at that university? How often would I be in lectures? So you can get a good idea of what you would expect from that specific course. Equally, the university facilities is going to be something that is quite important for you, especially certain courses might need something very specific. So you'll see there a large lecture theatre. Obviously, lectures haven't been taking place like that this year, but some universities, pretty much all of their classes might take place in a lecture theatre like that. Others will break it down. So we'll have an hour lecture in there, but then your seminars and tutorials will be in smaller groups. But you will notice that a university website, if you pick up any of the prospectuses and guides, all the photos are always going to show fantastic facilities. They're always going to be really smiley people. So when you can get to go and visit places in person, and we don't know what will happen with the tier systems, but if you can go campus tours, which a lot of universities will be starting back up, hopefully, go and visit them. In the summer, even if you think, oh, I've already decided where I'm going, but if you can go on an applicant day or an open day, if they're allowed to run, do go and look at it, because you might go, do you know what? That doesn't match up with what I was expecting to be based on the photos, or maybe the students aren't generally as happy as they're made out to be. So do look at everything in detail, especially if there's subject specific requirements. You know, you want the latest sports facilities if you're doing a sports science course, or you want to be looking at the race car elements in the mechanical engineering bits if you're going to be going into those type of fields. Equally, double check what those entry requirements are. So even if you know exactly what you want to do, you're literally just tidying up your personal statement before you click send. Double check that you meet everything, because it could be the UCAS points are a nice easy thing, 112 points or BBC, DMM, but it could be, do you have that GCSE? Do you need to show that you've got a qualification pending on your form so we know you've got that? Or equally, do you need to talk about some sort of work experience? Now, this year, obviously, we're trying to be a lot more flexible with those work experiences, because you might not have been able to have got them because of the pandemic, but equally, make reference to it. I tried to get experience in a care home, for example, couldn't do that. However, this is what I did now. Equally, if you do need to talk about it, we might never know about it. So if you don't put it into that personal statement, how would we know? So double check all those different things. And equally, reputation can be quite a good way of filling down. Now, each of these different websites will always have different metrics that will go things. You'll see universities will say they've got a gold, silver, or bronze TEF, and that's basically teaching quality. So gold is the best, bronze is at the bottom there, but different universities will have different focuses, and some will be more research-based universities. So the ref, they're more likely to score higher in, maybe not as high in the TEF. And it depends what type of experience you've got. Different league tables like the Complete University Guide, the Guardian University, they will use different metrics as well. So some universities might get one that is in the top 50 for one league table, but it could be about 80th in another league table. So it's a great way of trying to narrow those choices down if you're still not 100% sure, but always take them with a pinch of salt and keep asking those questions. You've got the likes of UniBuddy, you can ask students, but obviously remember the university is technically paying for them to say good things about it. You've also got the likes of the student room. So to try and make sure you get a bit more impartial advice and to make sure you make the right decision, ask questions about what it's been like for students this year. At this moment in time, we can't say fully what your academic experience might be if you were starting the next September, but it might be maybe a blended approach of what's going on at the moment and what's gone in the past. So see what the current students are saying from the first year now. What have they found their university experience like? But equally, go back a year or 2 years to when everything was normal. So you can go back and get an idea of what that university is traditionally like. So at least you can kind of go, well, this could be my experience if things are still continuing in September. However, I might get that experience as well, so you can know what to be looking forward to. That location is key as well. So if you are going to commute, is the car parking available? Lots of bikes areas. Is it easy to get to on public transport? Even if you are moving away, how far is that? My wife came from the northeast of England over to Liverpool, partly because she said it was 2.5 hours away. So it was easy enough, direct train back home, but she was far enough away that she knew her mum and dad wasn't going to just pop in and surprise her. So nice and easy, but equally that distance. Think about how easy would it be for you to get home if you do move away during the Christmas period, for example. And equally, accommodation, if you can look around the accommodation that you sign up for, do make sure that you can do it again, because you'll see the photos are all there to make you look great, but how much would it cost you? If it's even on campus space, sometimes you can still be quite a distance away from your building. So you might pay more to be right next to your facilities. You might pay more to have an ensuite. You might pay less if you want to share your facilities with some people. And different universities might have 7 or 8 people sharing in like a traditional dorm style. It could only be 2 or 3 people. So do that research. But realistically, if you are looking at accommodation, do it with the university for your first year so you've got all that extra support. And speaking of support, every university will have some form of support kind of referring to these different areas. They might be called slightly different, and it might be something that you don't think you need right now, but it's always just worth checking that they've got good support services just in case you ever need that. When I was at your stage, never needed to look at any of these type of things because didn't think that there's any needs at all. And it was only in my final year that I was diagnosed with dyslexia, mainly because I was living with trainee teachers who spotted it in me. But I got so much support for my final year, purely by fluke, that I was at a good university for it. And in hindsight, that's something that I would have checked to see was there more support there. But equally, to help you do that research, there's loads of different websites you can utilize. So the UniTasterDays is fantastic because these Tuesday webinars have been going on since April. John is going to be getting a well-deserved break next Tuesday. But there's so much really good content. And what you will see, maybe sometimes some of the themes might overlap from different sessions. You'll generally see that all of us are different practitioners from different universities give the same advice. So it's really great asset bank. But again, there's loads of other websites that are out there. Equally, utilize university websites. One of the first priorities for universities during the lockdown was to get as much online content together. So we put, for example, loads of stuff on before the schools officially closed, knowing that these type of things were going to be happening, and it just gets added to and added to. So each university that you're considering will have some really great tips on how to write personal statements, how to look at student finance, and different videos from their students. And in the new year, there's going to be more, obviously, virtual events. Potentially there will be physical fairs, but that's obviously depending on what happens going forward. But there'll certainly definitely be virtual careers fairs. So you might have, for example, the UCAS fairs, UK University Search. Your school or college might run something. And even if you've already applied to that university, still get in touch with them at those events. Just go, look, I've applied to you for do this. I'm really interested in these societies. I'm really interested in this. Can you give me a bit more advice? Because our job is to make sure you get to the right institution. And we'd rather give you proper advice and guidance that makes you either say, maybe that's not the right place for me, maybe that other place might be better, or great, that 100% confirms it. I can't wait to see you in September. And keep registering for those open days. Speak to tutors. If you are going for a course that will interview, they can give you some tips on what type of things they would like to hear you say in an interview. Plus, equally, you might say something that they go, oh, I remember that person's statement. Yeah, they were really keen, we'll make them the offer. So to conclude, do your final research over the break to kind of help you decide on what course to do, what type of university it's going to be. Double check everything. Be Santa, check that list, make sure that everything is nice and not on that naughty list of different things that you're missing out. Utilize existing support from universities through different means, and most importantly, have a break. I'll be out of the office now, but we'll all be coming back and we'll be supporting you with whatever you need in the new year. So thank you very much and have a fantastic festive break.